Hi, welcome to Optimize Your Energy with the Moon and the Stars. My name is Stephanie, and today I want to talk to you about the basics of manifesting with the lunar phases and the lunar cycle. So, if you are watching this, you probably joined our class and you want to learn how to manifest your dreams using the moon and the stars and their energies. But today, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the basics of doing so. So, we're not going to go into all of the specific energies, just the basics of the lunar phases and how to use them to manifest. A lunar phase is roughly 29 and a half days. So it does change. So it seems like it happens within a month, but it really is 29 and a half days. And within that, you have four major phases. You have the new moon, you have the waxing moon, you have the full moon, and you have the waning moon. And in between the new moon and the full moon is about 2 weeks. And also, you have your first quarter and your third quarter moon in the middle of that as well. So, with that being said, I also want to tell you that the moon travels through each of the 12 astrological or zodiac signs each lunar cycle. It spends 2 to 2.5 days in each of those signs. If you think about it in the fact that the moon is traveling through the sky, then you can think about it moving from the constellations, the astrological constellations. And that is important because at some point we will talk about a void of course. So that is how you will think about that as well. So with that being said, what do we do during the new moon? The information I'm going to give you is going to be based on the classes that Yasmin Bolin puts out. She is the author and designer of moonology classes and also the moonology oracle cards, among other things. And I took her class, and that's where I got the basic information and then made them into our class and modified them, etc. There is no wrong or right way to do manifesting. As with anything else that we work on, it's what works for us. Please do not stress if you aren't able to do it exactly the way I'm laying out for you. This is just a guideline for the most powerful way to do it if you're able. I don't always get to do it this way, but this is the most powerful way. You use it as you can. So I don't get stressed out. Okay. So the new moon is when the sun and the moon are exactly conjunct in the same sign at the same degree. Two other astrologers that Kitty and I really like to use, and therefore I want to give credit for some of this information, are Molly McCord and Pam Gregory. Molly McCord said it very well to make me understand. So the sun and the moon are exactly conjunct in the same sign at the same degree during the new moon when it peaks. They're wedding, getting ready to birth the new lunar cycle. That is why everybody says you should use the new moon to birth your intentions, because they're getting ready to birth the new lunar cycle. They can birth your intentions. That's the energy that you're working with. And within this, I also, before I started taking these classes, didn't realize that when the moon rises is not when it peaks. It peaks when it's actually conjunct in the same sign at the same degree. And that could be anytime during the night or the day. During our classes, we will provide that information for you. However, you can look it up on timeanddate.com is a good website that Yasmin also uses a lot to look up when the new moon is going to happen, when it peaks, and other information about eclipses, etc. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find out, when does the new moon, what's the date, what's the time that it peaks. Make sure you're looking at the correct time zone and make it your time zone. And then also, what sign is it in during that peak? Because those are the important pieces that you need to know. We will give you this information in the class, but those are things that you'll do down the road. Now, if you don't meditate, meditation is a great way to calm your mind, quiet everything so that you can clearly think about things. And so we recommend that you prepare a space to meditate. So I like to do it outside if I can, but that's not always possible. But just prepare a space to meditate, get comfortable in your body, music, candles, sage. If you use crystals or crystal grids, you want to have those as well with you because you want to breathe that energy into them, hold on to them while you're doing this meditation. So you're going to prepare your space to meditate as close to the peak of the new moon as you can, because that's when the energy is the strongest. Go into your meditation and you want to think about what are the things that you are wishing for in your life at the moment. What are those things? What comes to you? This meditation could take 5 minutes. It could take half an hour. It could take longer. It could take anywhere in between. It's whatever time you need to clearly think about what your wishes are, your new moon wishes are. After you get finished, you come out of your meditation and auto write down all of the things that came to you. Just auto write everything down. Once you have everything written down, at that time, you can start to formulate them into your intentions. We recommend that you don't do more than 3 to 5 intentions for each lunar cycle, unless they're very much interwoven so that they go hand in hand, because you are going to need to work on these intentions. Just because you write it down doesn't mean it's going to happen. So if you write down, I want a Lamborghini, doesn't mean a Lamborghini is going to show up in your driveway. So you have to work on these for the next 2 weeks. So again, write them down, formulate them into, I'd say, between 3 and 5 intentions. We will talk in a separate video about how to write, like how to word these intentions, but the main thing is to word them as if they've already happened. Now, after you get those written down, you want to go back into meditation. You want to meditate on each one of those intentions, those statements individually for at least 68 seconds. It is a scientific fact that it takes 68 seconds to get things in here and to get things in here. So you want to meditate on them for at least 68 seconds apiece. And what you want to do is you want to feel what's it going to feel like when this happens? How happy are you going to be? How blissful are you going to be? Because if they're your dreams, if they're your wishes, then you should be really, really happy when they happen. That's what you want to feel. You want to get that feeling. You want to hold on to that feeling and know that that's what it's going to feel like when these things come to fruition. If you are using a crystal grid, and we will do a separate video on that as well, but if you are using a crystal grid, at this time is when you're holding on to those crystals that you use and you're breathing that intention into those crystals. You're putting it all, infusing them with that intention. And this is when you would want to activate your crystal grid. I use one crystal grid at the moment, and I usually use it for my most important intention of that lunar cycle. So I will now activate it for that intention. Now, what you also want to do is you want to make sure that you are working on these. So you want to make sure that you have them written down. I, for one, personally use this little booklet, little journal, and also some of you might have this. I created this for another class, and we're also giving you forms that you can use to write things down as well. Some people like to burn their intentions during the new moon. If you do, that is absolutely fine. It's great to burn them and send them out into the universe, but you want to make sure that you have a copy because you need to be able to look at them and work on them. And sometimes you might want to go back. That's why I keep this little journal, because you might want to go back and you might want to see, well, what did I put down as my intentions last year during the same new moon. Or there might be some other astrological event happening that you need to go back a few months. So you need to keep those lists of intentions in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so that is what we do basically for the new moon. The next 2 weeks is when the moon is going to wax. So the moon is getting brighter and bigger and brighter and bigger, and the energy is growing and growing and growing. And in between there, in those 2 weeks, in about the middle of that, you're going to have what they call the first quarter moon. So it's basically half of your moon is lit up. So what you're going to do during these 2 weeks, as that energy is growing, as it's getting, more intense, this is when you're working on your intentions. So don't stress out about it. Again, we want these to go along with your everyday life. It's just a process to add into your everyday life. So what you would do is in the morning, talk about your intentions. Also at night, read your intentions so that you sleep on them. But in the morning, read your intentions and think, okay, what do I have to do today? And which of these intentions might I be able to work on with what I have to do? So for instance, if you're working on new relationships or new networking and you have a luncheon or some kind of a networking event, obviously that would be your best intention to work on during that time. So that's what you do. This is also the time that you want to tweak, hone, and possibly delete your intentions. So when you meditated on them and when you wrote them down, you had a vision. And sometimes that vision isn't quite the right vision. And sometimes during these next 2 weeks, you might realize that you need to tweak it or hone it. Also, sometimes it's not the right time. You don't have enough information, or it's just not the right time for an intention. So you can feel free to delete it. It's not a bad thing. Sometimes if an intention happens like that, you write it down and it happens, great. So now do you look at it? Do you think, did I go big enough? Should I expand on that intention? Or is it just the way it was supposed to be? If some intentions aren't quite working out the way you wanted them to, again, tweak and hone them. And if it's not working out at all, you will know. And it could be you just take it off for this lunar cycle and you might add it back in when it's a better time. So this is the time, again, that the energy is growing. You're working on your intentions for these 2 weeks. You're trying to tweak and hone them. Every morning you're waking up with them. Every night you're going to sleep with them if you can. Now we come to the full moon. The full moon is when the moon and the sun are completely opposite in opposite signs at the exact same degree. So they are now across from each other. The moon is at its climax. It is a full moon. It's the brightest. It is shining the light on things that might be blocking you, on things that you need to let go of. So during the full moon, you again need to know when does it peak and what day it is. So we will give that information to you in the class, but what day does it happen and when does it peak during that day? It is not when it rises. It could be maybe, but it's not. It could be anytime during the day or night. And also what sign it's in. We will cover why that's important down the road. So with the full moon, it is big, it's climax. The energy is getting as intense as it can be. And with that being said, there are 3 main things that you should do. And the first main thing you should do is surrender everything. Surrender your intentions, whether they happened or not. Surrender all the things that no longer serve you, because we have a lot of things that we may hold on to that is taking up our space and energy that no longer serves us, that it would be best to let go of. You could do rituals for this. So some people like to write these things down. You could meditate on it, write them down. We will do a whole other video about full moon rituals. But if you write them down, I would again keep a copy and burn them and say a mantra. Say something like, I surrender these things that no longer serve me. It feels really good, and it helps you to blow it out into the universe to get rid of it. With that being said, the other thing that people forget to do is give gratitude. You want to give gratitude for all the great people and the great things in your life, because when you're giving gratitude, it's really hard to be in a negative energy mindset. So it's also, breeding that positive energy that you want in your life. And the last of the main three things, but not the least important, is giving forgiveness. Give forgiveness to yourself and give forgiveness to everyone and everything that's wronged you. And when I say that, hopefully you realize I don't mean to go up to somebody that just did you wrong and tell them that you forgive them. That is not what we mean. We mean forgive them in your head and forgive them in your heart, because again, you don't want that to be taking up your energy. You don't want it to be taking up your time. We are freeing up our energy and our time, and we're getting ready to go into the dark phase, and we're getting ready to heal and ground and then re-energize ourselves. So you can ask your guides for guidance and also thank your angels during all of these phases. That's always a good thing to do as well. So what I would also do is recommend, if you're using a crystal grid and or crystals, is this time during the full moon, you want to recharge and cleanse them. So I can't really put things outside, but if you can put them outside. We'll do a whole other video about this, but you will want to I put them in a south side facing windowsill so that the moonlight gets to them. And you do that overnight. The moonlight will then re-energize them and help to cleanse them. This is also a good time to make moon water. If you are into making moon water, you fill a clear jar with a lid, put it in the moonlight. You can use that for infusing your intentions into it. You can use it to drink, anything you use water for. Put it in your diffuser, put it in your bath, water your plants. I usually use it to water my plants. So those are the main things, the basic things that you do during the full moon. Surrender, give forgiveness, and give gratitude. Recharge your crystals. Now we are going into the waning moon. The waning moon, as the moon is getting smaller and smaller and darker, coming back to the new moon. This is the time where, it's kind of going inward. You're going inside to heal. You're going inside to ground yourself and recharge. So this is the time that there's 2 weeks roughly in between this full moon and the next new moon. So it's the last 2 weeks of the lunar cycle. And the third quarter moon is in the middle of that as well. So this is a really good time to do a lot of meditation. This is a really good time not all of us can just surrender things. Not all of us can just forgive people. So these 2 weeks is when you continue to work on surrendering things, letting go of things that no longer serve you, and also on forgiving people and things, including yourself. It might take you a few weeks to do that. So that is what you're going to work on. Meditate, contemplate, go within. You're healing. If you are a nature person at all, an outdoor person, spend as much time outdoors as you can. Spend as much time grounding yourself as you can, healing and recharging, and getting ready for that next new moon. If you do any kind of shadow work or cutting of the cords, this is a great time to do that as well. We will also cover that in an upcoming video. So those are the basics of the lunar phases and the lunar cycle and how to use them to manifest. This is nothing new. Our ancestors for centuries have been using the lunar cycle and the lunar phases for a lot of different things. If you read the almanac at all, the Farmer's Almanac, it is mostly based off of lunar cycles and lunar phases and the astrological signs that the moon is in. And that to me is so telling of the energy and the power that the energy of the moon and the stars have. I hope this helped you. I hope you enjoyed. And I cannot wait to use this with you in the future in Optimize Your Energy with the Moon and Stars. Thank you so much. See you soon.